Hello everyone. Today we are going to start with one of the most interesting chapters of class 10th, and I have seen students being dreaded the most by this chapter, that is heredity and evolution. Now trust me, if you follow the lectures closely and you try to understand the concept, this chapter is very easy once you understand it, and it's very interesting also, right? You get to understand all the phenomena that why a person is like that, right? Any organism, why is it so, right? If I am here, why ma'am has two eyes, why I have got two hands, why am I speaking like this? So every the reason of why I am like this and why you are like this lies in this chapter, right? So we'll start with heredity and evolution, and let us first start with the definition of these two words. That is very important, right? That is heredity. What do you mean by heredity? Please write down. Heredity means anything. Heredity means a character which is passed on from parents to offsprings, right? Offsprings means children, ठीक है? जो भी parents का जो next generation होगा, that is what is meant by offspring, ठीक है? So heredity means any character which is passed on from parents to offspring is what is called as heredity. So anything which you have got from your parents, right? Like your skin color, your hair color, the features of your face, and anything which you have got from your parents, like you must be like your parents. Why you are like your parents, थोड़ी देर में देखेंगे. But anything which you have got from your parents, because of that you are like your parents, right? And that is, you will say that yes, this is what I have got in heredity. Right, my hair is black because I have got it in heredity. My parents had black hair color, because of which I also have black hair color. So this is the first part of the chapter where we will be dealing with genes, alleles, DNA. I explain about everything. Now the next part of this chapter will be evolution. Next part of this chapter will be evolution. What do you mean by evolution? Now we know that why an organism is like that. Now we'll study how various types of organisms have some differences and some similarities, right? See, when you compare yourself with, let's say, a monkey, right, you will say that ma'am, humans and monkeys are so different. But when I tell you to compare yourself with a tree, you will say that we are so similar to monkey, right? So every organism in this world, they share some similarities up to some degrees in this world. Okay? Why is that? That is because of evolution. So what do you mean by evolution? Please write down. Evolution means changes. Evolution actually means slow changes with respect to time. Okay? Slow changes with respect to time is what is evolution. So we all have descended from a common organism, and that organism, while reproducing, underwent slow changes, and it led to creation of various different types of organisms. So this is how different types of organisms are found in this world. So in the first part of this chapter, we are going on to we will be concerned and we will be studying about heredity. So let us start with heredity. Now heredity, in many other books you will see heredity will also see it as written as genetics. Take it, genetics. What do you mean by genetics? So genetics means something which is dealing with genes. So now let us come on to what are genes, what are alleles, right? Now before coming on to what are genes and what are alleles, I would like to have a discussion about variation, because that is where your NCERT starts. Take a variation. Now about variation, a very good example has also been given in your chapter reproduction, right? When there is starting of sexual reproduction, it has, NCERT has given a very beautiful example of a pond where two types of bacteria lived, and the importance of variation. So please, I would like you to go and read it from there, as this does not belong to this chapter. In your NCERT, I'm not explaining it here, but that definitely belongs to chapter heredity and evolution, right? So please go and study it from there. Now what do you mean by variation? Let us discuss. Variation means differences. Please write down. Variation means differences in characters of different organism is what is variation. ठीक है, मेरे और आप में जो भी डिफरेंस होगा, वही डिफरेंस को ही हम क्या बोलते हैं, उसी डिफरेंस को ही हम वेरिएशन बोलते हैं. ठीक है. नाउ दिस एनसीईआरटी हैज गिवन अ diagram and let us see what is that. See, first there was an organism, ठीक है. Now this organism it started having variation. पहला variation कौन सा आया कि ऊपर वाला जो उसका part था that became red and the lower part became green. Now in the next generation this had upper red part which has been inherited in heredity by this, right? This has been inherited in heredity by this and this has been inherited in heredity by these, ठीक है. And इसके साथ these two had separate variations which occurred at this level. Now when these will have their children, these will have specific variations as these will also receive them in heredity. So this is what is meant by heredity and this is what is variation. So variation, what are variation? This red in color, this red upper part of this, whatever this is, right? This red part is what is varying between these two. So this is the variation which has been created. Now how are variation created? This is very important. This has been dealt in chapter reproduction, sexual reproduction, but still I like to discuss it. So variation comes from mutation, right? First it comes from mutation. You can also write that it comes from sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. So these are the two sources of variation in this nature. You definitely have to remember. Okay? Mutations and sexual reproduction. So here we can assume that there was some mutation in its gene. I will come on to genes right now. For now, understand that genes are those things which govern any character, right? If I am having two hands, if I am having two eyes, that is what is governed by a gene. So gene is anything in my body which governs my character, right? So here some mutation. What is meant by mutation? Mutation means changes, right? Some changes must have occurred in its genes because of which the color became red, and now this gene is inherited in heredity by these offsprings. Okay, so this is what is meant by variation. Now let us look on to the various types of variations which are found in the human population, right? There are different types of hair colors. Okay, so the first variation example is hair colors. Right, this is a girl with a blonde hair color and this is a girl with a brunette, and such a girl with a black hair color or brown hair color is called as a brunette. Okay. Next, we also get to see various types of earlobes. And how are earlobes? Many people have free earlobes, right? The lower part of their ear is not attached to the skin. That is what is called as free earlobe. And some people, they have got the lower part of their ear attached to the skin. That is what is called as attached earlobe. Okay, so I am just showing you the various types of variations which are visible in human population, right? There are hundreds and lakhs and crores of variation which may be there, but I am just showing you the most evident ones. Okay, now this is again very beautiful picture. These are the various types of eye color. है ना? How many types of eye color do you know? Brown, black, green, hazel, etc. Next, this is again an example. This is what is called as widow's peak. ठीक है? This is of hairline. This is what is called as hairline. ठीक है? Hairline कैसा हो सकता है? Widow's peak. किसी का आपने देखा होगा. There is an angle like this which is formed, and some people have got a straight hairline. ठीक है? So this is what is called as widow's peak. Widow's peak. ठीक है? This is a very famous actor. I hope you know him. And this is a straight hairline. Straight hairline. ठीक है? Straight hairline. ठीक है? I'll rub it. That is how the widow's peak is. Okay. Next. So now finally, why all these variations are present and what is the importance of these variations? So the importance of these variation is the survival of the species. I'm not explaining it to you because as I told that it has already been dealt in chapter reproduction, right? So let us come on to the cause of variation. Now this cause of variation, I told you it is because of mutation. Mutation where? Mutation changes in genes. Changes in genes. Now I also told you that heredity in many books is also written as genetics. So now let us study about genes. What actually is a genetic material? Genetic material. ठीक है. प्लीज़ follow the lecture closely, है ना. This is the starting lecture where I am giving various of introductory concepts, and I'll be using these words again and again later in the chapter. So after you write down the notes of these chapter, go through the notes, learn the definitions in your head, so that when I take other the next lectures, you're able to understand it properly. ठीक है. So what do you mean by genetic material? Genetic material, please write down. Genetic material is the material which governs our character, which governs our characters, right? Which govern our characters. ठीक है. So there is a thing in your body. ठीक है. What I am saying is there is a thing in your body which is controlling all your characters. ठीक है. And because of that thing, you are looking like what you are. You are whatever what you are because of this genetic material. Now you also look like your parents, right? You are also like your parents. Why you are like your parents? Because this genetic material is obtained from your parents, and because this genetic material has been obtained from your parents, you are like your parents, because this genetic material is what is governing whatever you are. ठीक है. So this genetic material, please write down, we get genetic material in heredity. We get genetic material in heredity from our parents. We get genetic material in heredity from our parents. ठीक है. तो अब आप पूछिए मैम ये तो बता दिया कि ठीक है कुछ ऐसा है जो हमारा कैरेक्टर गवर्न कर रहा है, हमारे पेरेंट्स हमको मिला है, बट ये है क्या? व्हाट इज दिस? सो दिस इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज योर DNA. This is what is called as your DNA. What is DNA? DNA full form is it is a type of biochemical, right? It is a type of biomolecule. So the full form of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. This is what is DNA. So now you will ask, okay ma'am, this is a biomolecule. Where is this genetic material found in our body? So in our body, every cell has got a nucleus, right? You know various parts of cells, you have studied it in class 9. So now this cell has got a nucleus. And where does DNA reside? This DNA resides in the nucleus of your cell. So every cell of your body has got a genetic material, that is what is DNA, which is residing in its nucleus, right? So where is this DNA found? This DNA is found in nucleus of cell. Nucleus of cells. I hope this is clear. ठीक है. Now this DNA has got information about all the characters. You can understand DNA as it contains all the information as the blueprint of someone, right? Blueprint. I hope you understand about blueprint. So now this DNA has got all the information about all the characters of whatever you are. Now there must be some segment in this DNA. ठीक है. This is how the DNA looks, right? There must be some segment in this DNA which is controlling one character of yours. ठीक है. Character मतलब हम क्या समझ लेते हैं, जैसे कि मेरा हेयर कलर हो गया, या मेरा आई कलर हो गया, या कुछ भी आप ले लीजिए, स्किन कलर हो गया, है ना, मेरा हाइट हो गया, या मेरा कितना नंबर ऑफ हैंड है हो गया, वट एवर आई एम, कोई भी आप एक फीचर उठा लीजिए, मेरा कोई भी कैरेक्टर उठा लीजिए, एंड यू कैन से दैट इज़ अ पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टर और दैट इज़ अ पर्टिकुलर ट्रेट. अभी हम आगे आएंगे इसके देर पे थोड़े. ठीक है. सो मान लेते हैं DNA is governing all these characters in me, but there must be some particular segment in this DNA which must be controlling one character, right? Which must be controlling one character. So what is that segment of DNA called as, which is governing one character? That is what is called as gene. समझ में आया? What is gene, what is genetic material, what is DNA? I've seen children confused a lot, and even teachers don't explain these things, but this is very important. This is the basis of your chapter, right? You should be able to differentiate between the words heredity, between the word evolution, between the word genetic material, between the word DNA, between the word gene and allele. ठीक है. Dominant recessive बाद में आएंगे. ठीक है. So what do you mean by gene? Please write down. Gene is that segment of a DNA. Gene is that segment of a DNA which controls one character, of an organism. I hope आपको समझ में आया. ठीक है. अलील के ऊपर बाद में आएंगे. ठीक है, एलील के ऊपर बाद में आएंगे, ठीक है। तो एग्जाम्पल क्या हो गया किसी जीन का, जीन कंट्रोलिंग माई हेयर कलर, जीन कंट्रोलिंग माई आई कलर, जीन कंट्रोलिंग माई हाइट. सो दीज आर वेरियस एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ जीन. ओके, नाउ लेट अस मूव फॉरवर्ड. ठीक है, so whose picture is this? I hope many of you must be knowing that this is a, actually he was not a scientist, he was a pastor, right? He was he was the priest of a church, what we call as pastor. ठीक है, so he was Gregor John Mendel. ठीक है, Gregor John Mendel. So now you know that we have got genes in our, we have got DNA in our cells, we have got genes in our cell. But when there was no electron microscope, right, how do you look at the DNA of your cells? You look it by electron microscope. Now when there was light microscope, and when there was no such discoveries that there is something what is called as DNA, there is something called as genetic material, this Gregor John Mendel, he experimented on pea plants, right, for understanding the traits. Now what he saw that all the organisms are looking like their parents, right? You must have seen that, you must also have noticed that you look like your parents, and all the organisms in this world look like their parents. Now why do they look like their parents? He pondered over it, right, and he thought that there must be something which is passed from their parents to the progeny. Progeny means children, right? Offspring means children, they both mean the same thing, right? So there must be something which is passed on from these parents to the offsprings, which is responsible for whatever they are looking like. At that time there was no discovery such as genetic material or DNA or anything. So he thought so forward before his time, that at that time he was not at all given recognition. His contemporary scientists, they did not accepted him कि ये क्या फालतू चीज़ बोल रहा है. They were like this, and he died like that. ठीक है, after many years his works were rediscovered, and at that time there was the discovery of this electron microscopy. And when there was the discovery of electron microscopy, and we came to know about the genetic material, DNA and various things, those scientists who discovered his work observed that he already said those things without seeing anything, and because of this he was awarded Nobel Prize posthumously. Do you know what is the meaning of posthumously? Posthumously means after death, right? So he never got recognition for his work when he was alive, but he was given Nobel Prize posthumously. So because of this he is called as the father of genetics. ठीक है, he is called as the father of genetics. ठीक है, मतलब this is such surprising, how can a person understand so much, right? So he is called as the father of genetics. ठीक है, so to understand how these characters are passed on from parents to offsprings, he performed experiments on pea plants. The church where he was a priest, he grew different types of pea plant in the backyard of his church, and there he experimented with it, right? So he did nothing but matlab, he was a pastor, right? So that is very surprising. So let us see about this. So there were 7 characters which Mendel studied in the pea plant. ठीक है, pea plant में उन्होंने कितना character लिया? He studied about 7 different characters, because एक से हो सकता है समझने में कुछ गलती हो जाए, कुछ हो जाए. So he studied about 7 different characters in the pea plant. So what were these characters? First was flower color. I want you to write it down. There were 7 characters on which Mendel experimented on pea plant, and these characters are as follows, right? So the first one is flower color, ठीक है, seed shape, seed color, ठीक है, ये बस फोटो है वही सबका. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज pod color, है ना। पॉड कलर मतलब जो पी का जो पॉड होता है उसका भी डिफरेंट कलर्स होता है। नॉर्मली हमारे घर में जो मटर आता है आपने देखा होगा वो ग्रीन कलर का ही होता है, बट दैट पॉड कैन ऑल्सो बी ऑफ येलो कलर, दैट पॉड कैन ऑल्सो बी ऑफ ग्रीन कलर। एंड आपने मटर तो पक्का ही देखा होगा कि मटर येलो कलर का आता है, ग्रीन कलर का भी मटर आता है ना। जनरली जो इस सीज़न में हमारे ठंड में जो मटर आता है इंडिया में दैट इज़ ऑफ ग्रीन कलर, बट आप किसी राशन वाले दुकान से आप सूखा मटर खरीदने जाओगे तो आपको येलो मटर भी देता है ना, छोले वोले में जो डलता है। सो मटर पीज आर ऑल्सो ऑफ येलो टाइप एंड उसका शेप भी अलग अलग होता है, दे कैन बी ईदर राउंड और दे कैन बी रिंकल्ड। और पी प्लांट का जो फ्लावर होता है दैट फ्लावर इज ऑल्सो ऑफ टू टाइप, वन इज ऑफ वायलेट कलर, प्लीज डोंट राइट पर्पल, वायलेट एंड वाइट, ठीक है। चलिए नेक्स्ट आपका क्या था, दैट आपका जो पॉड्स रह सकता है उसका शेप भी दो रह सकता है ना, एक हो सकता है इन्फ्लेटेड, एक हो सकता है कंस्ट्रिक्टेड, है ना, पॉड शेप, ठीक है। ये भी आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारा मटर का, जनरली मटर कैसा रहता है कि मतलब उसका जो पॉड होता है वो फूला फूला रहता है, बट कुछ मटर आपने देखा होगा ना उसका पॉड एकदम ऐसे चिपका हुआ रहता है जिसको छीलने में भी मुश्किल आती है। सो दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज कंस्ट्रिक्टेड पॉड, दैट इज द शेप ऑफ द पॉड, राइट। एंड दीज ऑल आर गवर्न्ड बाय जीन्स। अच्छा, इसके पहले प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट देर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स, है ना, ये बताना भूल गए। देर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ कैरेक्टर्स, वन आर इनहेरिटेड कैरेक्टर्स एंड वन आर एक्वायर्ड कैरेक्टर्स, राइट। What are inherited characters? What do you mean by inherited characters? Inherited characters are those characters which we get from our parent, and whatever we get from our parents, whatever we get in heredity, these all must be governed by genetic material, because genetic material is what we get from our parents. So these are called as inherited characters. Inherited means the things which we have got in heredity is what is inherited. So the characters which you have got from your parents is called as inherited characters, like your hair color, eye color, skin, and your weight, height, etc., whatever built of you are. But there are some things which are called as acquired characters. Now what are these acquired characters? Acquired characters don't have anything to do with your gene, rather these are acquired in your lifetime. These are acquired in your lifetime. Now here I am a teacher, I'm teaching you biology. Does this have anything to do with the genes or the interests of my parents? No, my parents are are not teachers, but I am a teacher. So this is not a genetic character, but this is my character, right, that I am a teacher. So this is what has been my interest, this is what I have acquired in this lifetime. So there are two types of characters, inherited and acquired characters, right. So acquired characters, there are nothing to discuss in it. There is nothing to discuss in it. We are going to study about inherited characters especially in this chapter, and inherited characters are called as traits. What are traits? Inherited characters are called as traits, ठीक है। So प्लीज़ राइट दैट डाउन, है ना। सो वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी अबाउट कैरेक्टर्स, रादर आपके एनसीईआरटी में एक्वायर्ड ट्रेट्स ही लिख दिया है, बट अंडरस्टैंड हम लोग ट्रेट किसको बोलते हैं? ट्रेट इज एन इनहेरिटेड कैरेक्टर, ठीक है। चलिए सो यहाँ पे वापस आते हैं। सो एक तो पॉड शेप हो गया, नेक्स्ट इज फ्लावर पोजिशन। फ्लावर पोजिशन, ठीक है। प्लांट में फ्लावर कहाँ लगा हुआ है? प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट, मान लेते दिस इज योर प्लांट, राइट, दिस इज योर प्लांट। प्लांट के एंड पे अगर फ्लावर लगा है ना, प्लांट के एंड पे अगर फ्लावर लगे, एंड पे ब्रांचेस के एंड पे फ्लावर लगे, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज टर्मिनल फ्लावर्स, ठीक है। लेकिन अगर दो ब्रांच के बीचों बीच से फ्लावर निकले ना, मान लेते दीज आर टू ब्रांचेस एंड इनके बीच में अगर फ्लावर निकल रहा है, एंड पे नहीं निकल रहा है, बीच में निकल रहा है, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज एक्सियल फ्लावर्स, एक्सियल फ्लावर्स, है ना, ठीक है। और लास्ट वन and the most discussed is pea plant height. Pea plant height. So these are the 7 characters which Mendel discussed, है ना, which Mendel performed the experiments on, and in the next video we are going to study about monohybrid crosses and dihybrid crosses. Okay, thank you.